friends, welcome back to the Not channel. Thanks so much for being here with me again. I'm joined today by my friend Iain Coombs. He's in Eastern Australia right now. He is the convener for the Clan MacThomas Society Australian branch, which means he's not got control. I'm sure that's not easy with Wildcats, I know, but he's got a title at least of the Australian branch of the Clan MacThomas Society. So thanks so much for being here, Iain. We're on to talk about Australia and what MacThomas has meant to Australia, perhaps, through the years and what you're up to today.
Thank you very much, Ray, for the welcome. I wouldn't say I control the branch. I do a lot of the administration work and
There you go.
help line up events that we attend to or keep members informed of what's going on around the country and overseas from our clan council and from gatherings which are organised in Scotland as well.
Well, thank you for what you do. It's very important. I'm in a lot of contact with Virginia Kring here in the U.S., whom I'm sure you know. So I've got a hold of you through her. She's my main MacThomas local person, I would say.
Yes, I have met her at the gatherings in Scotland.
Okay.
We exchange correspondence via emails and messages every now and again, and she looks after our social media output on a worldwide basis.
Right. So I see you've just recently attended a Kirkin of the Tartans, Ian.
Yes, yeah, in Melbourne, which is the capital city of the state of Victoria in the southeastern corner of our country. We have a tartan festival around about this time of the year every year.
Hmm.
And one of the main functions of that festival is the Kirkin of the Tartan service, which is held in Scots Church, which is right in the heart of the city of Melbourne. It was built in the early days of settlement in Melbourne by
Hmm.
a group of Scotsmen. And they have this church service every year to mark pretty much the start of the Melbourne Tartan Festival. It's quite a large church. Sunday, there was approximately 15 clan groups represented at the church service, but the congregation itself would have easily been in the 200 mark. So it's quite a popular church. Part of the service was given in Gaelic as
Mm.
well as the English. So those folk who have a bit of Gaelic could follow it in that respect. But most of us were English speakers, so we found it quite easy to get hold of and follow as well.
Right. Quite a feeling, Ian. I know I've been to several of those. Quite a feeling to be able to, quite an honor, a privilege. Similar feelings like that. I'm sure you may have felt yourself standing in that sanctuary, holding the tartan. It's a special thing, Ian.
It is. It's very significant that the people in Scots Church and the people that run Scots Church and the Melbourne Tartan Festival have been able to come together to organise this event. We were led down the aisle at the start of the service by a piper, a very competent and very good piper,
Hmm.
and each clan group laid a sample of their tartan on the chancel steps at the front of the church and then retired to some reserved pews at the front of the church. So we had a bird's eye view of the choir and the speakers during the service. So it's very good, very well organised and extremely significant. And it is a good chance to meet up with other clan groups because they have a morning tea afterwards and we can exchange views and talk about general topics. And often we catch up with people who we don't see all that regularly during the rest of the year.
Yes. So if some of the folks listening may not know the significance of it, as I understand it, it may be a little different where you live. Uh, I understand it to mark a period in time when tartans and Gaelic and bagpipes and a whole list of things were in the shadows, were illegal, you could say, in some places. and this tartan was perhaps brought to the sanctuary by people in secret or in some manner. This is a recreation of those feelings and those periods, as I understand it, Ian.
Yeah, that is part of the story, and also people listening may remember that after Culloden, a lot of the Gaelic culture and especially the Highland culture was forbidden and frowned upon and extremely harshly suppressed.
Yes.
So the Kirkin of the Tartan is also a commemoration of the repealing of that act during the I think it was the 1780s from memory,
Hmm.
when the act proscribing many of the Gaelic and the Highland culture was repealed, so people could actually break out and relive their culture and their heritage.
Yes. Now, had some of the MacThomases exited Scotland prior to Culloden? Or what time period are we talking about when settlements of MacThomases might have occurred in Australia?
It's very difficult to get any coherently documented evidence, but Culloden, you may recall, was in 1745, 1746.
Yes.
Australia wasn't actually colonised officially by the English government until 1788.
Oh, okay.
So there wasn't any very early settlement or um, immigration from Scotland until the late 1700s, early 1800s. And I have found some records of MacThomases coming to Australia in the 1850s.
Hmm.
My great great grandfather himself came in the 1850s to South Australia,
All
which
right.
is a state next door to the state where I live now. Um, and there were people that went to as the state of Queensland, which is right up the north of Australia. Some went to Sydney, which was the central point of settlement in the early days of Australia.
Hmm.
Some went to Victoria, where I now live, during the 1850s and the 1840s, and perhaps later. And many of them became prominent citizens. For example, a man called Alexander Thompson. Thompson is one of our set names in the Clan MacThomas, and it's
Yes.
the Thompson without a P
Of course. Of course.
in the spelling. He was one of the first or earliest settlers in the Geelong area, which is where I live. And he did actually train in Scotland as a surgeon or a doctor before he migrated.
Mm,
But when he got to Australia, he first went to Tasmania as a doctor, and he actually travelled out on a ship as a ship's surgeon. But
mm,
when he got to Tasmania, he got into other activities, eventually moving to Victoria, where he took up land in the Geelong area, and he became the first mayor of Geelong.
really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
and there is a suburb of Geelong City named after him. It's called Thompson,
Huh,
and
wonderful.
there is a cricket club called Thompson Cricket Club, and there are streets called Thompson Street or Thompson Road in commemoration of his efforts.
Yes. Now, when you say ship's doctor, naval doctor or a private,
It was a private, it was a migrant ship,
I see.
and he was not in the services or the navy, but he came out on a migrant ship as that ship's surgeon. And once he settled in Tasmania, he continued to practice for a while before,
Hmm.
but he otherwise took up land and became a pastoralist or a livestock raiser.
Yes.
And then he moved to Victoria, becoming a mayor. At one stage, he was even a politician. Um, People in Sydney, there was a man in Sydney who came in the 1850s, um, and he became a minister. He was a minister in the Presbyterian Church,
Uh,
and he later moved to Victoria. He became a minister in one of the early Presbyterian churches in rural Victoria. Unfortunately, after living in a little town called Balan, which is in the rural areas. He was thrown from his buggy when he was driving home from a function one evening.
Mm,
In the dark, his horse took fright, threw him from a buggy, and he suffered severe injuries and died a few days later.
right.
And one of his descendants is actually living in Sydney now, and he has come down to Victoria on a regular basis to look after his ancestor's grave in the Boland Cemetery.
Hmm.
So people, others moved to other states and became significant landholders or quite significant citizens where they settled. So the MacThomases had a variety of names. Some were Thompsons, some were Toms, Thoms,
Yes.
and some were just Thom. But they became very significant citizens in the areas where they settled and contributed greatly to the settlement and the establishment of very lively communities in Australia, but
Right.
mostly in the 1850s. That was a significant period of migration for them.
We're finding a lot of MacThomas clansfolk in Australia, but not with that name on their mailbox. This is not a, as we see in many parts of the world, and it's just how MacThomas is, I think, that MacThomas name is not prevalent as a name. Uh,
It is more of an honorific name or a
mhm.
title name than anything else.
Yes.
By far, the majority of the people that belong to our clan society are Toms or Thompsons or Tom or
Yep.
Macomb or Macombi,
Yes.
which is a Gaelic rendition of the name MacThomas. One of the early chiefs was known as Macomie Moore,
Yes.
and that's where a lot of people's names come from. Uh, and it is rendered in English as MacThomas, but in the Gaelic, it's pronounced as Macomb or Macomie.
Hmm. Now, any idea of these folks that you've documented, whether or not they're the chiefly line or not? I know MacThomas is a fairly small unit, but there are a few genealogical lines, of course, within the clan.
Most of them are not of the chiefly line, although our clan genealogist, who lives in the same state as I do, has done significant research, and going back quite a way, there is a connection with one of the families in Australia. I am not aware of the details, or I haven't got the details in front of me, but there is a connection with the chiefly line here in Australia, but it is restricted to a very small number of people and a very small group of the clan, whereas most of the people are not of the chiefly line.
Right. I see. And now I did a little reading about there's a monument, a place with standing stones. I can't recall just the name of it. It's involved with an event in May as well each year. Do you attend that with MacThomas, Ian?
I have been to it in the past, many years ago. That
Hmm.
is at a place called Glen Innes,
Ah.
which is in the far north of New South Wales state,
Hmm.
and they have a permanent site with the Celtic standing stones, and they hold a festival there every year about the time that you have mentioned.
Yes.
Um, as far as distance goes, that would be something like nine, six, round about the 1,700 kilometres away from me to
Mhm.
my north and slightly east.
Ah, okay.
So travelling there is quite a considerable feat, or arranging accommodation and timing with other events and with other things going in my life. So I have only been there in once. We
Hmm.
had um, we had an event there under a previous clan convener who had brought back a small stone from Glen Shee from one of our Scottish gatherings.
Ah.
And at Glen Innes, they have a wall, a memorial wall, in which each clan group can place a memento of their clan, and a small plaque is attached to that. So back in, I think it was about 2009, we had a special gathering at the Glen Innes Celtic Festival
Mm,
where we put a stone into this memorial wall and had a small ceremony to mark the occasion. But
right.
that is a very big event. And each year at that Celtic festival, they have a different Celtic race as the theme for that year. So it goes in rotation around the Scottish Celts, the Irish Celts, the Cornish Celts, the
Mm,
Isle of Man,
yep.
and other Celtic races. So it's not every year in Scotland, although people of Scottish descent are quite welcome to go, and even Scottish clan groups will set up their stall. But each year has a different Celtic theme.
I see. Yep. How great to have a monument there that mentions MacThomas for people to have a local point of focus, you might say, or something to hold on to, something to just to have that means MacThomas to them.
Oh yes, yes, it's a very significant memorial wall, and as you say, a focus point, and it's a great festival, and it does attract people from pretty much all over the country and even internationally. It's well worth going, but as I've said, because of the distance and the time involved, it takes a bit of planning to make the trip.
Yes. Now what? So Highland Games are also involved in some of your events, of course, athletics.
Yes,
Are they?
yes, in Victoria and in other areas, there is a number of Highland gatherings and Highland games that are run, particularly where there is a concentration of the Scottish population or the Scottish migration. Northern
Okay.
New South Wales is one area. They have, like Glen Innes, they have a Celtic festival. There's another place called Aberdeen, which has a gathering every year.
Hmm.
Last year, I travelled to an area called Port Stephens in New South Wales, and we attended a Highland gathering in a district called Raymond Terrace, which is close to Newcastle on the eastern coast of Australia,
Hmm.
which is a very big port. Um, and that was good fun. We set up our clan display. We had a good talk to some of the people that called in out of interest to see what we did and what we got up to. We had a parade of clans. They had several bands performing, not competing at this particular gathering, but they were performing.
Right.
And we had a mass band a couple of times during the day. So it's a wonderful event. In Victoria, we have a circuit which usually starts in early summer, a circuit of Highland games and gatherings, which are often coupled with pipe band competitions. So we
Uh,
get a number of pipe bands that either from our state or from interstate. We've even had bands come over from New Zealand or bands from Singapore, which come over to compete occasionally.
wow.
And at those games, we have Highland dancing, we have pipe band competitions, we have Scottish country dancing, we
Right.
have the heavy games, the lifting of the stones, the hammer throws, the caber toss.
Lovely.
On New Year's Day in country Victoria, there is a large rural city called Maryborough, and they have a very big gathering. It's actually a Highland gathering and sports day on New Year's Day each
Really?
year. Whereas, as well as the traditional Highland gathering, they also have foot races and other athletic events to combine the day, and that is a very significant day and a very well attended day, and it's a great fun to be part of. Um, 1st of January can be very hot because that's right in the middle of our summertime here. And
Mm.
we've had temperatures around about the 40 degrees and 40 degrees plus on that day, which makes it a little bit tricky playing pipes on a day like that.
Yes.
But it's a great day where each band can can perform. They have a street march, which is very spectacular and very well attended from a spectator's point of view. And then they all adjourn to one of the local parks where they have a performance, and then they have the foot races and the heavy games, and it's just a great day.
Yeah, what a wonderful thing to have a town just become tartan for the day. That's pretty much, I'm sure, what happens. The colors and the splendor and the sounds and the music and the what a great thing to be a Scot for that day there.
Very
Probably many
much so.
probably many people like here, Ian. I see people saying, "Geez, I wish I was a Scot or something," and I'll tell them, "Well, you are for today. Come march next to me." That's what
I'm
this is
sure
all
on
about.
those occasions we have many honorary Scots.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yes, yeah, it is good fun to put on the kilt and to kit up and to look at all the tartans and try and work out what they are. Some of them I know, but there's an awful lot I don't.
Yeah,
I've got to carry my book with me and look them up.
now speaking of tartans, Ian, I can't locate yet just where it is or who they are, but somewhere in Australia or New Zealand, there's a band that wears the Hatton colors. I've seen a video or some photographs of them, and I can't yet just pin them down. Um,
There is there's a band in central Victoria called Castlemaine. They're based in a town called Castlemaine.
Castlemaine.
Um, Castlemaine, yep,
Hmm.
Maine,
Okay.
but it's all one word. And they wear the Clan Hatton tartan.
Ah, this is
It's
it then. I'm
yes.
wondering, I'm wondering why they do that. I'm interested to find out how that developed, or I don't think they just found that tartan on sale.
Oh no, no, they've worn it for a very long time.
Mm,
I, it probably had something to do with either one of the early founding members of the band or one of the early administrators of the band
yeah.
who was part of a committee who chose that tartan. I'm not aware. I haven't had a lot of contact with them over the years, so don't really know the history of what tartan they've used. But many bands, their tartan that they do wear relates to an early an early administrator or a founding member or
Hmm.
someone who they think is very significant to the band. For example, there's a band in Melbourne, one of the top bands in Victoria and one of the top bands in Australia, and they have competed very successfully overseas as well. They had a drum major who was a very long-term member. He was actually a military veteran, um, and he was very honoured and an absolute gentleman who died when a few years ago. But he was 100 years old when he passed away.
Uh-huh.
But for many years, he was a very significant member and drum major of that band, and they used they adopted his family tartan as their band uniform over the last few years in honour of his membership and his leadership in that band.
That Hatton tartan really stuck out to me. I'm sure many people in the world and wherever that would just walk right by them in the street and they just see a tartan, but I saw that and I probably picked that up from 300 yards. That's how I am.
It's
Um,
pretty distinctive colouring, that's for sure.
so now that you've told me the town name, I'm on the track, Ian. I'll find out what's going on with those folks and try to give them a note and see what they say back.
I, I will mention, and you may be able to fill me in on this. They in their uniform, and I did talk to them about them on one occasion when I saw them some years ago.
Yes.
They have a white stripe in that tartan, and
Okay.
I asked them about that, and they said the white stripe indicates that that tartan or that particular pattern was worn by the chief of the clan. Now, I had never heard that story before, so I'm just putting it to you. Perhaps something you may know about, or something you may be able to research why there would be a white stripe in that particular tartan.
I don't know right offhand, but there are two Hatton tartans, Ian. There's Hatton Chief in what's called Hatton Ancient. Hatton Chief, I believe, is when we say that, we mean it's worn by the Macintosh chief, which was at the time the Hatton chief as well.
Yep,
I'll have to look up that white. I know the white stripe strikes a bell here, but I'll have to see what
yep.
just what chime it hit later. There is some white in that photograph now that I think of it. It looks a little too white at times, but it's definitely a Hatton base to it. I'm sure there's other leaders of MacThomas, you might say, or other people attending festivals in the name of MacThomas within Australia. Or I realize you can't drive 1,700 kilometers places, but perhaps others can, or at least attend and be there as a family and as a clan. If not, actually attend with a stall, as you call it. We call them tents here. Um,
Either or.
right.
We we encourage through our newsletters and through every communications that I put out or the committee puts out, alerting people to events that are going on, and we encourage them to go.
Yes.
Um, for instance, my assistant convener, who lives in the state of South Australia, about 750 kilometres to my northwest,
Okay.
he attends a gathering over in that state when he can, and he sets up our clan display there. And I have been there on occasions to assist him. I've also been to other Highland gatherings around Victoria and interstate where we have gatherings, not necessarily at a Highland game. For instance, in Sydney last year, we had a small gathering just at a member's private home because we were intending to have an outdoor gathering where we could invite local members around the Sydney and New South Wales area to attend. But the weather turned foul on us at the time, so we had to make short shift and change venue suddenly. So we had it at a private home. It
Hmm.
wasn't a Highland gathering as such, it was just a small get together of whatever Clan MacThomas members could be there at the time. And it was a lovely day. It was small as it was. It was really good to catch up and talk to people face to face.
Absolutely. That's so important, Ian. That's what I've been trying to do for the last few years. Just keep people in contact with their heritage. I know people have lives and busy schedules and such, but we're still Scots. I'm asking people just once a year, once every 6 months, something, call up your grandson and say, "Hey, you're a MacThomas. Don't forget it," or that kind of thing. It's just a little tap on the shoulder, just a little reminder. Just we're still Scots in this modern age
Yes.
that this modern age we've produced for ourselves. We'll fight to make us forget that.
Well, I think it is important to maintain the contact and preserve the heritage. There are so many good things,
Mm,
not just Clan Hatton or the MacThomases, but the Scots historically have been so significant in so many countries around the world where they've migrated to. It's important to remember our history, I think, and pay homage to the people who've done so much before us and have enabled us to live the fortunate lives that we do a lot of the time.
indeed, Ian.
And just one thing I will mention for the Clan MacThomas people or Clan Hatton in general, next year is a gathering in Scotland of the Clan MacThomas. Our clan lands are based in Glen Shee. The town where most of the people will be staying is a village called Blairgowrie, which is
Ah,
virtually at the foot of Glen Shee between Perth and Inverness.
all right.
And our committee or the council and one of our council members has been working very hard to organise a program and to help liaise with the local authorities and local businesses over there to accommodate and organise our visits to our clan lands and our ceremonies and the Strathalda Games. So 2026 is a good year if people in the Clan MacThomas can make it to Scotland.
Yes. And I believe it's every third year is how this runs with the Clan MacThomas, Iain.
At the moment, yes, yes. We had a very significant gathering in 2023 where I attended with some other people from Australia. My son and one of my daughters were over there with me and some other Australians, and we had a great time meeting a lot of people from all around the world who were members of the Clan MacThomas. And we also caught up with the chief and his family. So it's a really good weekend. Very important. We have a ceremony at our clan land, which is the Cockstane, which does
Yes.
belong to the Clan Society. And we also look at significant clan landmarks in the area.
Mm.
And we attend the Strathalda Games at Kirkmichael, which is not very, about half an hour's drive away from our clan land. So, and we have been there for a number of years.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for coming on, Iain. We're almost out of time, but I really want to thank you so much for the role you're playing, uh, keeping the MacThomases in Australia in touch with MacThomas the world over, and coming on here is also, which you're probably not used to doing, though. We're talking to the other 11 Hatton clans as well and educating them about MacThomas in general. That's what I'm trying to do. Um,
Yep. Well, that's
Generate and
good.
perpetuate that feeling of the Confederation. So I appreciate your role in helping me do that, Iain.
Well, I thank you very much, Ray, for the invitation. And it's been a pleasure. And as you say, please keep up your good work in keeping the Confederation in touch with each other. All the best.
All right, thank you very much. And it's been a little adventure here, turning the hourglass upside down under or something for today. And thank you for helping me through that.
I know it can be a bit of a juggle.
All right. Well, have yourself a good rest of your evening, what's left of it, Iain, and I'll have another coffee here near Boston, Massachusetts, in the United States.
Yes, you'd be gearing up for breakfast, I presume.
That's it. Me and the wildcat. The cat's back asleep now. Of course he is.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much, Ray.
All
All the
righty.
very best.
Good evening,
Cheers for
sir.
now. Good
Touch
evening to
not.
you. Good morning and all the best.
Good evening. Touch not, everyone.
You touch not.